So it's about 6 a.m. here in South India, Kerala, South India. Amma's ashram is behind us. The sun is rising over there. And up here is the moon behind me. I don't know if you can see that. I'm on a bridge called Amrita Setu, which was built by Amma's ashram. Actually, I think it was after the tsunami, so that people could get across these backwaters here. You see there's a fishing village here. This is where Amma grew up. So I'm making a quick video here about the Venus-Saturn exchange that's been happening since, I believe it was December 16th was the exact day. And so Venus and Saturn have been in opposition since that time, and they've been exchanging since that time. And the interesting thing about both Venus and Saturn is they are both related to very worldly things. They share a lot in common. They're actually very friendly with each other because of a couple really important principles which are being highlighted now with this exchange. And the first one is a little thing called humility. Both of them bring a lot of humility, but they do it in different ways. Saturn brings humility because we suffer, and suffering makes us sensitive to the suffering of others and makes us aware that in order to get any kind of benefit in life, we need to be humble, and we need to be willing to get down on our knees because we don't really control anything here. And so we can look at Saturn as the difficult influence that punishes us and all of this, but that's a very unevolved way to look at it, because really the only reason we suffer and the only thing we need to be punished for is that we don't really know who we are, is our ignorance. And being aware of our arrogance is what Saturn shows. And it's opposite the sun, which can show arrogance based on a false sense of power, because we all have true power, but because we mistake it to be something localized and something of the moment or of the body or of a situation, we can suffer with the sun through this arrogance. Because when you have, the king has the true power. He doesn't need to steal from others. And the same is true with us. We're always connected to the divine source, the eternal source. We don't need to grab a piece of it for this moment and hang on to it. That's the arrogance of the sun, and Saturn is opposite that, to bring it down to earth and to make us humble. Relationships definitely do this. So humility, service, being practical and of the moment is very much a big Saturn theme and a Venus theme, but they do it for different reasons. Venus makes us humble and makes us appreciative, which is another big Saturn term as well, because once we suffer, we appreciate that others may as well. But Venus does it in a very different way. Venus does it because once we love, we want to serve. Love has no effort. As my guru Amma says, love has no effort. There's no effort in love. People say, Amma, why don't you take a vacation? Go sit on a beach somewhere and relax. You're always working, you're always serving. And she says, I'm always at peace. I'm always at rest. Imagine if your children were suffering, and would you go sit on a beach somewhere and relax while your children are suffering? No. So this is why Amma serves tirelessly, and this is the way love serves. Of course, Amma is really a culmination of all astrological energies, if you want. And this is, anytime I wonder what's the culmination of this planetary influence, I just think of, what does Amma do? How does Amma do it? And she's the culmination of that, just like these great beings, these Mahatmas. They exemplify the pure nature of the planets. And just to say this about the planets, we look at, even saying planet is not a very good word, because a planet is actually a rock. That's the way it looks. It's a planet, or planetoid is a rock moving around up there. That's the way it looks. Just like you're not your body, the planet is not the force. The force is called a Graha. Graha is to grab, and grab us and attach us to certain action. We say karma, but karma has such a negative influence. We think that karma is the bad stuff. Karmas are just actions, and the planets grab us, grip us, and attach us to a certain action. That's what the grahas are. The graha is the planet. That's really what the force is. The planetoid, the rock moving around, is just the way it looks. But what the grahas are, the energies, are really in you. And you should look at astrology this way and astrological forces this way, instead of getting seduced by the appearance of the way it looks and say, how does that thing up there affect me down here, and get hooked into this form. Realize that the grahas, which is the energy of the planet, operates through your astral body, which is what goes with you from lifetime to lifetime and stores all of your karmas. This is a yogic principle. This isn't just me making something up. Your astral body, or what we might even call our mental body, goes with us from lifetime to lifetime, and that energy is stored in our chakras, and the grahas hold that energy. This is how our karma goes from lifetime to lifetime. And what we would call the planets, they're the incarnations of Lord Vishnu, which is the appearance of the universe. And Lord Vishnu is incarnated as the 9 planets to bestow upon the living beings the fruits of their karmas, to destroy the demons, and to restore dharma. So the planets, those rocks, at least that's the way they look, are grahas, because some of the grahas in Vedic astrology don't have a form. Like, for instance, the lunar nodes. And they're just as much a graha as well. They grab us and attach us to karma as well. So Saturn and Venus, these grahas, these forces in you, have several common themes. And now, and in fact, for the next several weeks as well, Venus and Saturn will continue to exchange energy and continue to bring those things in common into our life. Such as humility, willingness to give love and to be extended toward appreciating another person. This combination of Saturn and Venus is very good for relationships in this way, because Venus gets us moving toward another person. Venus grabs us through the body to give pleasure and joy to the body, then through the heart, because it feels good to give to others rather than just enjoy beauty for ourselves, and then to the soul, because then once we realize the nature of life, we can find beauty and joy and love in everything. It doesn't have to be just some experience that we're having. And as I said, Saturn gives us the awareness of the painful realities of life that really aren't that painful once we're willing to face them. And this whole quality of facing the truth is really what Saturn is about. It makes us mature and makes us willing to not just exist in our childish fantasies. This is really good for relationships, because most of our childishness revolves around other people, whether they're romantic relationships or just other people in general. And this is not just an exchange between Venus and Saturn now, this is an exalted Saturn. Of course, Saturn is exalted in Venus' sign, in Libra. So this is an amazing opportunity for you now to really go deeper into your, not just your romantic relationships, but your interactions with others. And I'll tell you this, and I said this a couple weeks ago, around the middle of December, is that because Saturn is exalted, the truth of how you really have been handling not just romantic relationships, but your relationships with others will be illuminated now, and you'll feel the truth of it. And this truth will compel you to be more humble, to show up with more appreciation of the suffering you've caused others, and to maybe reach out in the spirit of love and devotion to try to do better the next time. And this is why Saturn is exalted in Libra, Venus' sign, because rather than collapsing into our own kind of autonomy and our own sort of I'm not apologizing, or this kind of bitterness that can happen with Saturn when we feel wronged, Saturn in Libra reaches out and wants to make things better. This is why even in an astrology chart, the best place for Saturn, the best house, is the 7th house, which is actually the archetype of Libra energy. The 7th house is that place of others, that place of that mirror reflection that comes back. There's you. The first house that you are looking out from is the first house, and then the reflection that's coming back is the 7th house. So it's best when Saturn is there, because then the reflection that comes back from others is based on the truth. And that's all Saturn is. Saturn is just the truth. If you're not flowing in accordance with truth, then Saturn will hurt you. Not Saturn will hurt you, but the truth will hurt you eventually. And when Saturn makes an aspect or does something, you'll be aware of the truth at that point. It's not that Saturn is hurting you, it's that you're finally waking up to the truth. So this Saturn-Venus exchange for several more weeks. Venus just went into Aquarius a couple days ago, so I don't have it right off the top of my head. But will continue for a couple more weeks, and it's, as I said, a great time to really connect with your relationship truth, the truth of how you've been in your relationships and all of your dealings with others. And now that we have exalted Saturn, it's fantastic for this process. And the other thing is, after the Saturn-Venus exchange is over, after Venus leaves Aquarius, it then goes into Pisces, where it's exalted. So this is really by far the best place for Venus in the zodiac anyway, because it's in the sign of a friend, actually in the sign of a great friend, Saturn, for a couple months when it goes through Capricorn and Aquarius, and then it's exalted. So we're in this cycle right now where it's like the culminating point of Venus energy. First it goes through Capricorn, where we become practical and realistic about facing our relationship fears, because Capricorn is about facing our fears internally. It's ruled by Saturn, which is about our fears, and it's the emotional reflective quality of Saturn. So it's about facing our fears internally, and Venus is about our romantic fears. So when Venus goes through Capricorn, this is a lot of what happens. We have to face those harsh realities internally and psychologically, because that's what Capricorn is, facing reality internally, psychologically, which we've been doing since December 16th. Then it goes into Aquarius, which once we face those things psychologically and internally, and we become clear around them and feel the truth, then we bring it out into a more universalized sense. This is what Aquarius is. Aquarius is the external nature of Saturn, where instead of just facing our inner truth and the willingness to face our inner psychological fears around things, once we do that, then we come out in a larger sense of a more sort of cultural service-oriented way. And this is what Venus in Aquarius is like. So right now, the other great thing with this Venus-Saturn exchange is service. And again, this is another huge thing that Venus and Saturn share. And so Venus in Aquarius is great for service, because once we realize the nature of the world and the nature of life, there's really not much else we can do except serve something higher than our own personal desires. Venus desires. So then once we go through this process of Capricorn and Aquarius, then Venus culminates in the highest sense with Pisces. That's why it's exalted in Pisces, because Pisces doesn't even have anything to do with this world. It has to do with the metaphysical, the union of the individual with the metaphysical. And so Venus will be exalted in Pisces in a few weeks. So I'll talk more about that later, but I just wanted to make this quick video to show you some of this beautiful South India, Kerala. You see there's a little fishing village. This is where Amma grew up. Amma grew up in that ashram over there. I've been looking at pujas, or I've been attending pujas and ceremonies right next to the room where Amma was born. This is an amazing land. This is incredibly blessed land, and I'm really incredibly blessed to be here. And so these next few weeks with this Venus Saturn continuing aspect, continuing exchange is a great time for you to really universalize and extend that relationship to something even larger than just your own desires, and into something more of a state of service, and deepen your willingness to reach out, be extended, and face the truth of how you deal with others, and see that as a dignified and honest reflection of your spiritual growth. Yesterday at the talk, when Amma was speaking, she was answering some devotees' questions, and she basically said exactly this, that, you know, other people are here as a mirror reflection to us, to show us the truth of who we really are, and, you know, to sort of polish our rough edges. So not just romantic partners, but all interactions with others are here to be a contrast to our individuality. So next couple weeks, especially with Venus-Saturn exchange, is a great time to really be practical and of service and face the truth about that, and then extend beyond your feeling of righteousness over it and reconnect with, you know, anyone who you feel you have harmed. You know, it's a good time for apologies and sincere accounting for, you know, for how you are, regardless of what comes back to you. It's not about that. It's about being willing to face the truth. And that's all it, and really that's all Saturn does, is gives us the willingness to face the truth. So we'll leave it at that. Om Namah Shivaya. You're famous. On the way to Amritapuri.